Hello, Education 380, Education 500. Dr. Allen here. A few things. One, it was great seeing I shouldn't say everyone, seeing a lot of you at the KDP SOE School of Education bonfire last night. That was on Friday night. And actually, you may notice I'm in a hat and a t-shirt today. That is mostly because one, I was at the bonfire last night and I try to record usually by Friday. I didn't get a chance to do it. Two, I'm actually going to try to sadly run the Freedom Run next Saturday. So I was out running this morning, but I wanted to get this done on a Saturday morning. So I'm recording. So forgive me being a little informal, but I don't think it'll probably throw anyone off too much. This week, I keep clapping my hands. Let's do it. One, I hope everyone made it through midterm well. We're halfway home. I know pretty much everyone in here is also in some sort of placement, so I hope the placements are going well. Couple reminders, do not forget, I haven't put this on the videos or just when I send out the things. I'll try to do it when I send out the blast on tomorrow evening or Monday morning. Don't forget that you have the Apple certification or Google certification that you have to complete for this class. That's not due until the very end of the class. Some people actually do it on a finals week because that's basically kind of like your final itself. But some people like to get it done early. Some people have already done it early, and I just haven't. I haven't went through and put the points in. Don't worry, I see them. They've been submitted online already. And don't forget, Google actually costs $10, and you do not have to actually pass either one. You just need to have the attempt and verify that you did the attempt. If you can get through it, though, it is nice because it's something to put on your resume. And schools are obviously looking for technology like know-it-all-ish. I don't know if that's really a word. The how-to, or just how about we just do the professional word? Some familiarity with technology. With that being said, don't forget that. Also, there's the lesson plan aspect, the brainstorming. I'm going to talk a little bit about that next week. I'm not going to do it this week just because it's right after midterm, and I think everyone's probably a little ready to just kind of take a little bit of a breather. And also, that's something a lot of you have already done or inquired about. It's very simple, I think, but I'll touch base on that. That's, again, something that's not due until November. This week's actually kind of a fun week. Kind of back into a regular flow now that we've gotten to past the halfway point. This week, you got some readings. You got one on, it's a Kahoot reading, actually, from the New York Times. Hopefully, you don't read the Times all the time because it is a free login. But if you read so many articles, I think you have to pay. So don't worry if you do read the Times and you don't want to pay or anything like that, and your number of free articles come out, just contact me. I'll get you a copy of it. Also, we're going to talk a little bit about formative assessment. Everything we're doing this week is kind of something that you can do as a formative assessment in your classroom. Get that general reaction to understanding of, are your students understanding what you're doing? By the way, I don't think a lot of the stuff this week is going to be anything that you haven't seen before, probably either as a student or just in your observations or in the classroom. And then also there's another article on the cult of pedagogy. It's a more tech article if you're interested. As far as discussions, you're going to do discussion 7, blog 7 this week on whatever tech that you end up doing. And I'll talk about the assignment when we get there. It should be down here. You're going to create a formative assessment type, and you're going to get to pick one of the ones that's on there. By the way, before I forget, now that I see it, Brain Pop. Brain Pop is one that I've kind of started. I know a lot of elementary use Brain Pop, and a lot of people are going to be familiar with it. It seems to not allow the enrollment anymore. It used to be one where you could actually get in there and enroll, but during the pandemic, a lot of these things actually kind of got tough, I guess, so to speak. They were figuring, I shouldn't say it, I guess there was a good chance to make a little bit of money, so they kind of limited some free access. Not all of them, and the ones that we're going to do today actually have straightforward, free accounts, and you can expand them if you want, but you're not required to do it. All right, so what are we going to talk about this week? We're going to talk about, I'm going to keep it actually on the 4 top ones. You have an article on Socrative, so I'm not going to get into that too much. What I am going to talk about is, I have a feeling, maybe not Quizlet Live, but some teachers do use it. We're going to talk about Kahoot, Quizlet Live, and GimKit. They're all pretty cool. They're all sort of similar, but somewhat different. I kind of was thinking, how can I kind of show you what all these do and what's the pros and cons? And lo and behold, I found a nice article, and I'm just going to go through the article because they do a nice job of um, putting bold text on some of the pros and cons. I- Listen, I know most of you probably know this. Kahoot is used. There's probably not a day you can't walk into a school at this point and Kahoot's not being used. I would say it is the alpha on the list. But there are a lot of people who really like quiz. There's a lot of people who like, or I always say quiz. Isn't it? Is it quiz? I always misspell it actually. But Gimkit is another one that a lot of people like because it's you can earn things and get redos, and some work privately, like students can do on their own easier. And Quizlet Live is one where you can incorporate flashcards if you use Quizlet. That's something my son and I use a lot for vocab type activities. Not Quizlet Live, but we use Quizlet a lot to review. So with that being said, everything that has a link is down here if you're cool, if you want to check them out. Let me see. Here it is. There's the readings. You can check them out right there. And there should be right there links to all of the sites if you want to check it. Oh, there it is. Well, let me show you. Quiz. I misspelled it. That's why I clicked it. I'm not going to fix it right at the moment. There you go. Quiz. I always misspell it. I forget that one I all the time. I want to put that extra Z. I think it's just because I'm being ridiculous. But anyway, enough about me and my babbling. All right, here's what we're going to do. I want to tell you the differences about these. And again, everyone should kind of be familiar with formative versus summative assessment, I hope at this point. But one thing all of these things can do is if you're doing activities and you want to get kind of a check on if students are understanding some of the concepts, all of these are nice formative type activities. There are pros and cons to all of them also though. Actually, Kahoot, I used Kahoot a lot. When I started towards, I guess, the last third of my teaching experience, Kahoot really started to become popular. And I did things like History Bowl, and I taught social studies, so it was nice for some reviews. I will tell you this, and I'm sure you've seen it. You might want to make sure you have clear boundaries, and I mean rules, when you do Kahoot. Only because Kahoot can go off the rails pretty quick in terms of classroom management. The students are engaged, but they wanted to, sometimes students want to discuss after each question, like who's in the lead, and they get higher and they get loud. And then, of course, at that point, probably, unfortunately, some administrator walks in, and even though your students are engaged, it seems like it's not. Those are things that people sometimes worry about with Kahoot. And I've seen observations like this. It's kind of a double-edged sword. The students are into it, but it's almost like sometimes they get too into it. So what I did is I always had a set of rules for any types of these games. Like, I didn't want the students not to be enthusiastic, but I always told them, one, if they're missing a lot of a question, I want to be able to go back and like talk about it without telling everyone, you need to quiet down, flick the light, whatever. So I always used to tell them, listen, if you're going to cheer, the only way that you can cheer after you get one right is quietly cheer. I didn't want any of the loudness. And then of course I always told them, if everyone's, if you have a question and only 2 people out of 20 get it right, you need a moment to go back and go over that, because there's something not clicking, or you need to be able to write it down so you can go back over it. So these are fun, but they're tools that you can use. And also, of course, most of them should have some sort of download that you can actually check the data. But again, I would always recommend, if I don't say it, if you're going to do these in class, make sure you have a firm set of guidelines that you tell students that you're going to do if you're going to play these games. They're awesome. You just want to make sure that it's it's orderly, so to speak. With that being said, instead of me breaking them down, because again, I just feel like everyone's probably going to have some familiarity with them, but I found this article and I'm going to post it up. There's also a video. I'm not going to play that. But this was from Ditch My Textbook, or Ditch the Textbook. Ditch That Textbook. And there's a guy who did the Tech Like a Pirate, and they're all connected. And they do a really nice summary of all these. And I'm not going to read it word for word, but just some of the things that I've noticed with all of these texts that are good and bad. And some of them I just said already, but let's just hit it. Kahoot. What are some of the things? It's a shared experience. It's a fun classroom activity. Actually, that guy right across the room there, my son, he's 12 years old. I actually asked him, I said, he's done all these with his teachers. I was like, between Kahoot, Quiz, and Gimkit, which one do you like the best? And he said he likes Kahoot. And I was like, why do you like Kahoot? He goes, well, one, it's fun because we kind of all do it together. The other two, a lot of times we do on our own. that, I thought that was a valid answer. He also said that he liked the layout of it. He said he thought it was the easiest to follow, the easiest to read, and it kind of, his word, actually, I guess, he said it conveys the information, which I've never heard him use the word convey, but he just did. So I'm going to say it. I'm going to quote my son, Jackson Allen. I tried to have him come on the video and say these things. It conveys the information in a clearer fashion. I think he's talking about the layout. But, the whole thing, and I think the competitive nature is good. And he said that's also fun. There's also a lot of publicly created Kahoots. There's a lot on there that maybe you don't have to create your own. Now, like anything like the internet, if you're going to use Kahoot and you're going to use one that's been pre-created, please go back through it and make sure the information is correct, because some of these, it's like anything on the internet, it could be on there wrong, it could be bad information. It could, God bless them, it could be a student created one and they were doing a review and there's some wrong information on there. Just make sure you're checking out, like with anything, any materials or any source or any technology that you're going to use in the classroom first, especially if you're going to use one that you didn't create on your own, because it does take a little bit of time to create these. I used to create them. I'd sit down in the evenings and for History Bowl and make them while I watch TV on my iPad, but it still took a while. Students know Kahoot. That's another pro. Sometimes Kahoot gets a little quick, especially if it's things that they know, and some students are they don't know the material, but some students do, and it can go boop, 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 boop. So, you might have to watch the timing of your questions and make sure you're giving students the proper amount of time, but you don't want to make them too long. So, and you also have to make sure that, students don't copy, and look at other screens and stuff like that. But Kahoot, I'm going to show you Kahoot. That's the one I'm most familiar with and use. So, you can use any of these for the assignment that you're going to have, but it also has some cool stuff. It has, of course, an app. The names, I'm glad that was on there too, but I'll talk about that in a second. There's also ghost mode where you can almost compete against yourself a second time if you want to see if you do better. That's a pretty neat feature. And it remembers it if you retry it. And, it has a little ghost emoji icon that it competes. Names, that was something I'm not going to tell you everything and what maybe your cooperating teacher will do different. I told my students real names, unless we were doing something that I thought that, like when I was doing History Bowl and we were doing famous West Virginians, I'm like, you can put a famous West Virginian. I was I didn't play around with the names in my classroom I don't think I need to get into, explanations or too many stories, but if there was a name that I was even on the fence about, if someone was trying to be funny, boom, it was gone. I just, it's a game, it's supposed to be fun, but it is also something that, you want your students to be able to learn and take something out. So a lot of times Kahoots won't allow nicknames if they're inappropriate, but there's ways around that. So make sure you're paying attention to the names that are coming on there, because you don't want someone to walk in and there's a name that you don't want up on the board, so to speak. Quiz, it's student paced. My son did this a lot during the pandemic. I liked it a lot. I used it a little bit before I came to Shepherd. This is my third full-time year here. So, and I kind of was starting to like it a lot. I think the information that it gives teachers is a little better than some of the others. So, the dashboard and such. So it's something that, you definitely might want to check out. You don't quite have the excitement of Kahoot, which that can go a lot of different ways, but it's not quite as engaging. I think that's what my son was actually talking about. That was a big sample size, but there is a lot of the students like the competition of Kahoot and such. You can come back and review the questions all together though with a quiz, and you don't. There's ways around getting around the isolation, but that I would say is the big thing. Is it's just not. It's like Kahoot, but it's more independent than Kahoot. And I hope that makes sense. It's got some things. It's got memes that you can do. There's a homework mode. That was what we did a lot. I think the adding of audio, images, equations. These are all nice things. And there's power ups. That was something else that I noticed he liked a lot. Again, I'm referring to my son just when we were doing it, but. You can get more points, and it is kind of cool. I thought that when you do the activities, I'm talking as a parent, you can see the board of leaders, and I think the students still kind of independently compete against each other, watching who's done it already and where they fall. So it's pretty cool. Again, this is another one just to throw it out there. You can check it out. Quizlet Live. I am not going to kid you. I think I've done this like 2 or 3 times. I am more familiar with Quizlet just regular. I think most people are probably familiar with Quizlet. It's the we use it as an app a lot, but it's like a review thing where you can do flashcards and learn. It's great for vocabulary. We use it a lot for Spanish also. Quizlet Live is very much like Quiz and Kahoot, where you do, it posts your flashcards up and you can kind of work together and and share and post them up, and it just does the reviews and it does scoreboards and things like that. There's a screenshot of it if you can't see, but there's you and there's the competition and such. You can actually study collaboratively, so I guess it's just one of those things. So instead of just sitting at your house doing a regular Quizlet, you can study with other people at the same time and just see how you're doing. And again, you can use the flashcards you already have. You can do a new game anywhere. It works on the app. You need at least 6 students to play a game. Now that is a downside, because even with Kahoots, sometimes when I've done reviews with people, I've done Kahoots of 2 or 3 people, and it's just to kind of review it. Same way with Quiz. You can do it there. If you're looking for more individual work, Quizlet Live isn't probably going to be for you, but it is definitely more of a team play. And again, we didn't get into it too much, but I would recommend checking out Quizlet because it's got a lot of stuff on there. But again, like I said with Kahoot, you've got to watch. There's some information on there that's not always correct if you're going to download certain flashcards and such. I'm going to give a little plug for Quizlet just in general. My students, I like this. I remember one class they had basically a Quizlet group where they all made different Quizlets to review materials that I did in my social studies class. And like each week, one student would just take it upon themselves to make the Quizlet and share it with everyone. And I've noticed that with more and more students are doing things like that, they kind of do the study group. So Quizlet might be something to do. And if they're making the Quizlets and there's more than 6 or more, they could probably do Quizlet Live and review together. I've noticed even with Quiz, with my son, again, I'm referencing him a lot, but I've noticed in his class, a lot of people will make a quiz and share it. So that's another positive with these formative assessment type tools, games, whatever you want to call them. Finally, GimKit. I have to say, I feel like this one's picked up a lot of speed in the last year or two. It's like it has the power-ups like Quiz, and it's it's got different types of mechanics, and it does upgrades and power-ups, and it's a little more I don't know, modern game-ish, so to speak. And again, it seems like it's I've seen it used more independently than I have live, but with that being said, I have seen some people use it in the class in a big classroom setting. It does have Quizlet integration, so you can import Quizlet flashcard sets into it, which is, to me, a nice aspect to it. And I think it works pretty well with Google Classroom. I'll double check that. You only get so many games sometimes if you download them. Sometimes you have to pay. That's something. I don't know. I haven't looked recently on this, and actually I'm glad they referenced that. But most school districts might actually have this now because they're buying all this stuff because of the pandemic and such. And it doesn't quite have the size of the gallery that, some of the others do, especially especially as Kahoot and Quizlet, I guess, as far as pre-made things. With that being said, I know this article is a year or two old, and Quiz and GimKit may have actually expanded a lot more since then. Okay, that's just the summary of the ones. These are the ones you can pick one of these, whatever you're familiar with. I don't care. And you're going to make a review game. So let me go over here and just go over the assignment. This week, besides the discussion board and the blog, you're going to pick either Kahoot, GimKit, Quiz. ignore Padlet. I'm sorry. I put it on there and that we're going to do something next week. I'm actually going to do this right now. I just caught that. And let's, whoops, is it going to let me edit? It's not going to let me edit. Ah, there we go. I'm just going to get those out so I don't confuse you. Boom. Or myself. I will actually put Quizlet Live on there too. Sorry, you're getting to see this live, this in action. Quizlet. We'll update that. You're going to pick one of those. You're going to create a free account if you need to. You're going to create a short set of 10 questions. And you are going to, you can tell the conversion's still there. You're going to share it with me as a link or as a PDF, whatever's easier for you. If you really have to, even a screenshot. And you're just going to submit it on Brightspace. Again, you might have to put a Word document on there and post it on there. That's one of the things with Brightspace I'm not loving, but I feel like it's an inconvenience for you all. But I guess we'll play the cards we're dealt. Or if you're really that worried about it, if it's that annoyance, you can email it to me, which some of you do. Just to show you, I'm going to do Kahoot just to show you how to make it, just because I think it's the one that most people are familiar with. But, and also, if you need it, there are directional videos up with Kahoot set up here. And of course, you all probably are familiar with this thing called YouTube, and there's always videos that can do instructional type things on there. But one other thing I want to show you. Now, this happens every semester, so I went ahead and prepped it. I went ahead and logged into my Kahoot. If you have to create an account, that's fine. You may have this pop up. This does not mean you have to pay anything for Kahoot. And it does look like that. It says 5. That's a very popular, Kahoot Plus, Kahoot Pro, Kahoot Premium. All these things sound so great and costly. You don't have to do any of them. If this window pops up, there's something there that says continue with basic. You just click it, and guess what? I've been logged in for a while. Hopefully it works. Boom. It just takes me to my Kahoot. This is my Kahoot window. I have a lot of Kahoots. Let's get out. Oh, look, it even does a little quiz there. Oh, I didn't do Bucket. Oh, that's another one. We'll get into that in another week. I won't worry about that today. I forgot about Bucket. That's a new one that I've been kind of, not too new, but it's one we can do a little bit on. All right. When you go here, as you can see, there's 63 Kahoots on this account that I have. We've been doing some practice reviews and all, but when you get to this screen, you are just going to, I'm not worried about any of that. You're going to hit create. You're going to do a new Kahoot. I do want you to create your own. And how detailed you want to make this is up to you, but you could do, I'm doing something on a lesson plan on the Cold War for something I'm trying to get potentially published. Hey, if you're interested, contact me. I can definitely share it with you. But, you know, it would be, you know, the Cold War was between we'll just do that, the United States and this nation. And if you look, you do have a letter count and space count. So you got to be aware of that. And you can put an image there. So we'll just put, all right, we'll just put US. And there's the US. And we'll do, you know, was it Germany? Actually, let's even get more technical. West Germany. Was it East Germany? And by the way, you have to have 2. You don't have to do the last 2. Was it the USSR? Or was it Canada? And then you're simply just going to click the right answer. And you're going to save. Or you can add a question. Now, for me, I'm just going to show you. That's all you have to do. Once you hit create, put your question, put that. I would say put an image on there. I'm not going to take off if you don't. Sometimes it takes a while to do that. I think it adds a little bit to it just to kind of pretty it up a little bit. And I will say this, Kahoot's gotten really nice over the last few years. It used to not quite be this setup. And there's your time limits. Let's look there. And there's your points. I just do standards. And you can do different setups and all. I just do the traditional. That's all I'm asking. You just go in there, you click the right answer. And if we want to add a question, you can add a slide now, which is kind of nice. Let's see, you can put something on there. We're just going to add a question. So let's go back. We just want to do a quiz question. And here's what we're going to do. We'll do, the Berlin Wall is located in the city of Moscow. I'm making this quick. DC. Berlin. Hopefully everyone picks Berlin. Or let's say Martinsburg. And I'm not gonna lie, I like to put one fun one on there usually. And you do it, and you can keep adding your questions. And as you can see, you can do true false. I always just use traditional quiz. And then when you're done, you just hit save. And as you see, it's going to say back, I need to fix one. So let's see. It's because I have this one on there. So let's do another question. That's kind of nice. See, caught me. Let's do it. Another Cold War question. The Marshall Plan rebuilt this continent. How about this parts of this continent after World War II? And we'll just do two. We'll say Europe, or we'll say South America. And of course the answer is Europe. And that's it, Oh, well, let's put the Marshall Plan in there. We'll say Marshall. Let's see if it pulls it up there. I'd be shocked, but maybe, who knows? Yeah, I was going to say, of course I didn't spell it right. There you go. That actually, the money would be good because it was a lot of money. Let's see. Click it. Oh, I got to get more. Upgrade your plane. So you see, that's another thing. I forgot Getty Images isn't always on there, so you might have to, if you're going to do some images, it won't let you. Let's see. I'll do that one. Yeah, you got to upgrade, but don't worry about the images. I forgot about some of that. And there's GIFs. You can cut and paste or load images and down them over and all. Let's see if we can do this. Marshall. There's some GIFs. I have to admit, you have to watch a little bit with the GIFs, in my opinion, because you don't want them to take away from things too much. There you go. We'll put Mr. Krabs on there. And there he is. The GIFs actually usually have more things you can use than the images. I'm glad that actually happened. I've noticed that in recent years, because Getty Images you have to sign up for, which is actually a pretty cool site. You might want to check it out, but the GIFs are fine. Or GIFs, whatever you prefer. I go GIFs. I guess it's supposed to be GIFs. I've got my 3 questions. You have to do 10. After you type them, after you pick them, you're just going to hit save. You're going to name it Cold War. You can do a description if you want. And there you go. You can test it, share with others. There should be a link. You'll copy that link. You should send it to me. You should be good to go. That's it. If you want to take screenshots of the 10 questions or something too, you can do that. But I'm done. And as you can see, they'll show up here, there. And if I click that, it should actually pull it up. Let's see. Yeah. Even if you want to show that, just somehow get me proof that you made the Kahoot. The link is usually fine. And that's basically it. I'm just going to show you the Kahoot. You are welcome to do the other ones, though, the quiz, the Quizlet Live, and or GimKit. I have no problems with it. These are kind of a personal preference thing, and I'm just most comfortable with this, and I think this is the one that's used the most in the classroom. That's it. That's it for the week, but let's go back and make sure we're on the same page. Check out your readings. They're good. I'll underline that so it doesn't drive me crazy before I publish this. Again, check out the text. I would check out all of them if you have time. Of course, I would say if you can come away as a master or familiar with one of these, it will help you in the future. And again, you can get good data. I mean, I don't know if it's, I think you could use some of this for EdTPA as far as gaining data, but that's kind of up to you. And of course, always check with Dr. Johnson if you're going to get ready. If you're in 443, you're probably getting familiar with EdTPA. And if you're going to be in the 443 or PED2, I should say. But when you're in 461, you'll get into it a little more about collecting data. This is something that you might be able to use. They're all formative. Like I say, it's just information checks. That's at the end of the day what they're about. They're about being fun and information checks. But make sure you do 10-question formative assessment style game. Do the discussion, do the blog, 10 slides. There's a description right there. You can submit it here. That's it. By the way, I want to give everyone a shout out. Everyone's been really on the ball. This is a large class, but I think it's very, very rarely if anyone doesn't have something in on time. And if it's not, it's usually for a very good reason, and it's in like seconds after midnight or something on Sundays. So thanks. That does make my life a lot easier, only because usually the work's always so good. So anyway, I hope everyone's surviving, having a good weekend. Like I say, that's it from my end. I'm going to stop recording and catch you later.